All right, thank you so much. So let me just start by introducing myself. My name is Spencer Kahari. I'm a co-founder of School of Empowerment. It was founded in 2019. Uh, we are a private non-profit company, meaning to say that we all our business we do it for non-profit. Um, our basically our mission, we seek to empower and inspire a nation, one person at a time, by providing a platform like this platform, whereby individuals or people can access skills, self-development, training, economic and social development opportunities. We also provide creative spaces where individuals are able to express themselves at a local and a global scale in order to enable them to represent their interests in a responsible and self-determined way, acting on their own authority. We invest in individuals' lives, empowering and inspiring change through biblical values, as a process of becoming stronger and more confident, especially in controlling one's life and claiming one's rights. Um, Let me also uh, say that all our activities in the organization are carried out in a non-profit manner, which is philanthropic intent and without any direct benefit occurring to any of the directors, board of the directors, employees, officers, or agents. All our public benefit activities are carried on by our PBO, or public benefit organization, are widely accessible to the general public at a large and including any sector thereof, other than small or exclusive groups. So our organization has been registered with SARS, and we have a public benefit number. So you are welcome to visit our website on www.schoolofempowerment.co.za. We are headquartered in Western Cape, South Africa, and we we are giving these platforms to celebrate today's it's Mandela Day, International Mandela Day, and we are giving out our 67 minutes to talk about men's lives, what has been transpiring in their lives for the past uh, probably the most insignificant time that we are in lockdown for the past 2 years, whereby we have been affected by COVID, and also just to reflect on the Mandela himself, his character, his nature, how he managed to overcome uh, the atrocities and apartheid back in the days when he was locked in prison for 27 years. Us ourselves, we have been locked for close to 2 years now. So as men, we need to reflect and talk about our what has been the challenges regarding us shifting from being boys and becoming men, and also having the sense that we adopting to the new normal, which is the new normal regarding COVID, what is affecting men as an individual. I'm talking about depression, anxiety, stress. We are also going to talk about gender-based violence, and we are also going to talk about the transition from that boyhood side to becoming a man in this new normal. So I would like to welcome you all to this podium, to this platform, whereby we are broadcasting from Zoom, and also transmitting the same information to our social platform, Facebook, and it will also be recorded to our YouTube platform as well at a later stage. But allow me just to welcome everyone who is connected with us. I want to recognize you and I want to thank you for giving your time and connecting with us. I want to also welcome one of our guest speaker who's connecting from Uganda. That is Mr. Walufu Evans. He's a founder of Kesi Foundation, which I'll later on introduce him when I give him the platform. And also, I'd like to recognize Mr. Matthew December, based in South Africa. I will also introduce you later on. And I would like to welcome also Messi, Mr. Ephraim Chikozo, Luandiso, um, Sibongiseni, Sipokazi, and Tanatswa, and all those who are going to join us later on. But without wasting much of your time, because we only have 67 minutes to talk about men. Hallelujah. Amen. Thank you so much for that. Without wasting time, I would like to just give this time to Luandiso. Luandiso is part of the School of Empowerment. He joined us from the legal department, and I'd like him to take the podium and just introduce himself, what he has been happening in his life after he graduated, and how he has grown from being a boy, and is reflecting his life with Mandela. Thank you so much, Landiso.
Thank you so much, Mr. Spencer. Okay. I would like to first thank you, Mr. Spencer, for the opportunity. I would also just like to thank my colleagues from the School of Empowerment Africa. I would like to also recognize our guests today. I believe we have international guests all the way from Uganda. Also, I believe we have some guests also from Zimbabwe. Welcome, and thank you for joining us today. Okay, Mr. Spencer, as I proceed with what you've just mentioned, I would also like to recognize this day, this celebration, as an important event for the School of Empowerment Africa. It has been on our calendar, I believe, for the year. So I would like that to be known also, that it is not something that just came up because it's a Nelson Mandela Day. It has been planned properly. And we are now here to witness our own planning and enjoy ourselves in this event. Okay, thank you so much. Now, in our discussion today, as Mr. Spencer has said earlier, we will be discussing the great man himself, Mr. Nelson Mandela. We will also be discussing how our young boys across the nations can benefit in knowing the true attributes of Dr. Nelson Mandela, because those attributes are the same attributes that they have also. So in our discussion, we must always talk about everything else, but also reflect so that our young boys may benefit from knowing Dr. Nelson Mandela, who he was as a person like you and me, and then also who he was as a freedom fighter during his time. Also in our discussion, we will be discussing the serious issues that have always been happening in our societies, issues of gender-based violence, issues around abuse of our women, abuse of our children. And also in discussion of those issues, we must give knowledge to our young boys in knowing how to understand these issues and how to play an important role in such issues. Now, as Mr. Spencer has said earlier, I would like to share just a little bit of a story about myself. Growing up as a young boy. Now, I grew up from the Eastern Cape, South Africa, the deep sides of Eastern Cape. Now, there is fancy side and everything in Eastern Cape, but then there's a deep side, like where you see the basic rural areas. That's where I'm from. I grew up there a little over 31 years ago. That's where I was born. Now, growing up as a young boy there, we witnessed a lot of things going on. Gender-based violence was always there, but we didn't know it at that time. And we didn't know it having those nice sounding, expensive names like gender-based violence, but it was there. Now, growing up as a young boy, I struggled myself. I remember sometime, I think it was 1999, when I was suspended from school because I could not afford to pay school fees. School fees at that time was 35 rands. I couldn't go to school for a simple 35 rands. For 2 years that happened. But the drive for me to want to go back to school is what pushed me to keep going and to keep asking my parents to pay the money so that I can go to school. Now, back then, there was no free education as there is now. There is free education now, but there is some schools also that our children are required to pay some bit of amount towards school fees. At that time, it was difficult, as it is now for our young boys out there. It may be different scenarios, different situations, but it is difficult for them also. So to recognize that, we must give them knowledge about how to deal with these issues and about how to communicate if they're having such issues also. Nowadays, we see that there's COVID. Our young boys are probably struggling with getting devices because they're no longer going to school, but they must have devices so that they can continue their learning. And not being in class doesn't mean learning stops. It must continue. And we must instill the mentality of not being lazy in our young boys. They must not be lazy because now they go to school once a month or maybe once a week, but they must continue studying their books so that when the time comes for them to be examined, they are more than ready because they've had enough time to study on their own. And studying on their own gives them a very good chance of understanding the education system and understanding that as a person, you must grow on your own. There are people that will support you here and there, but a lot of decisions about being a person come from you personally. You may go and want to play soccer when it's school day. It is your decision. And soccer may be your skill. But now education is basic. You can go and play soccer, but if you can't speak or relate to other people from different cultures, from different religions, it might be difficult for you to relate. So we must make sure that our boys understand that education is the most important tool. It is. It was then, it is now, and it will continue being is. Now, going forward, what's most important is that also we must equip our young boys to understand the issue that has always been there, as I said earlier, the gender-based violence issue. Our young boys must know that this is a very serious issue and it needs participation from everybody. And in that participation, we must be able to recognize the patterns of abuse, because some of the people that are abused are among us, but we don't see them because abuse is not written in our faces. It is what is happening in our homes. People that abuse our women, people that abuse our children are the people that we live with every day. And it's not written in their faces that they are abusers. But once you start to learn and see patterns about people that abuse other people, you learn to understand that these are such people that are abusers. Abusers are not people, are not strangers, are not people that we don't know. It's people we know, we see every day. It may be your friend's friend that you don't know about. It may be my friend, but I'm ignorant because it's my friend. But the truth is, gender-based violence will always remain a crime. And we must report those people to authorities. Our children must learn to understand these things and report. Now, reporting to authorities does not mean you report the people to police only, because at times police find it difficult to intervene in such issues. You can report to your parents if you're being abused by someone outside of your family. You can also report to your school principal so that such issues are taken up by adults and dealt with accordingly. And we must report to our pastors also at church, our trusted pastors, our trusted adults that we know we can rely on with such critical information. Now, as a young boy, you may not be able to defend your mother. You may not be able to defend your young sister. But if you report these issues, that is the most important defense you can have for your loved ones. Now, in ensuring that those are attributed to the celebration of the Nelson Mandela Day, our boys must get to know the man himself, that Nelson Mandela. He was an important man, will continue being an important man. For 27 years. He fought very hard and long for 67 years for social justice. Now, in fighting hard and long, he never gave up on his dream, and that is to see a free and just society. And that free and just society was not only for South Africa, it was not only for our neighboring countries, it was for all nations. We saw Nelson Mandela being celebrated in England, celebrated in Spain, big concerts, big events being organized in his name because of his benefit. And what he fought for was not only for South Africans, but it was for everybody and for every human being that walks upon this earth. So if we instill this mentality in our boys, that if you have a goal, you must strive and you must push to ensure that you achieve your goal. Now, in achieving your goal doesn't mean that just because you've achieved it, you won't have another goal. You might have another goal, and at times, and more often than not, you will fall in your strive to achieve your goal. But what counts most is that when you fall, you must rise again. And as a young boy, you must understand that there are a lot of opportunities out there for you, and they are waiting for you. Now, to get into those opportunities, you must give yourself a chance, because the next person may be willing to give you a chance, but they have limits. But personally, yourself, you do not have limits. You give yourself a chance over and over and over again. And why is that? Those are important. And as much as they are important, they also become an important part of your family. Because as you grow from being a young boy into becoming a man, you must understand that everything that you do affects your immediate family, it affects your neighbor, and eventually it affects your community. So we must make sure that our young boys play an important part in their families first, and then in their surroundings, and eventually in their communities. That way we're creating a better society for our people, and we're creating a better society for the vulnerable in our communities. So we must give our boys important knowledge, such as we're discussing today, so that when they go out there into becoming men, they know exactly where they are, where they come from, and where they will go in the future. Because our goal is that our young boys must grow to become important people, people of substance in their families and in their communities. I want one day to meet a boy who will say, I've listened to you. I've listened to the video that you held on the Nelson Mandela Celebration Day. And I've always wanted to become that better man. And today I am. And in that day, I'll be the most happiest man. Because what we do here, we don't do it for our benefit. We do it so that the next generation may benefit from knowing who we are, where we come from, and where we intend to go. And our intention is a free and just society, such as Nelson Mandela said all those years ago. So if it is very important to instill the mentality of betterness in our young boys, it is very important to instill the mentality of greatness in our young boys. In that way, they will know that they are appreciated and that there are chances out there for them to go and do better. They must even do better than we are doing now, because time for them will be different. Our time is different. Nelson Mandela's time was different. But what's most important is that we push each other into doing better every day. Now, a very important message to our young boys today is that they must go out there, learn. And learning means you must make mistakes. Don't hold back because you're making a mistake, or you see that you're making a mistake. Go all the way so that when you make that mistake, you can learn from it. You know exactly where it started and where it took you. That way, when you grow and become old and joining the adults, you'll know a mistake when it comes, long before you even get involved. So to our young boys out there, they must be strong. They must know that they are appreciated, and they must know that the future is waiting for them. And that future is them. I thank you. Over to you, Mr. Spencer.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Luandiso. What a profound speech that you gave. We need to inspire and empower our young boys to change their mindset from reflecting from the man himself, Nelson Mandela, what he did for the past 67 years fighting for justice. So I commend you for doing that also and inspiring our young boys. Without further ado, I'm going to hand over also the podium to another great man among us. He's a lawyer, Mr. Matthew December. Is an LLM candidate in international protection of human rights at UWC, that is a University of Western Cape, and a candidate attorney at Legal Aid South Africa. He has been awarded prestigious awards such as Open Society Foundation for the 25th year commemorative bursary in 2018 to further his studies. He's also a self-proclaimed and social justice advocate. Um, he's also a convener of ANC Youth League, UWC branch, and a former secretary of BLA student chapter at UWC branch, that is in South Africa, Western Cape. So I would like him to just take the podium, say, and then just address us as we address and commemorate the legend himself, Nelson Mandela, and reflecting on the challenges our young boys and young men are facing today and how to move forward as well. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for the flattering introduction. Once again, good afternoon to everyone, and thank you so much for having me. Before I proceed, can I just have an indication whether I'm audible? Can someone just confirm that I'm audible?
Yes, sir, we
Yes,
can.
we can hear you. We can't see you, but we can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so firstly, when I received the invitation, I wondered how I would tackle or try to express my views. And then I actually realized that I don't need to look very far for an angle or a sort of perspective that I want to put forward further than the man that we are commemorating today himself, Mr. Nelson Mandela. I think many of the problems faced with young boys, especially in our communities, is a lack of role models. Apologies, someone just asked me to put on my camera. Oh, I hope everyone can see me now. So I think there's a shortage rather of role models or people that we can reference whenever we are trying to show young boys the way that you want to aspire to be like. Um, I feel like Utata Nelson Mandela was a person that you can always go back to and see that this is a type of role models that we lack in society right now. And it's just a pity that not much attention is being given to the actual man himself rather to what he did. Like I said earlier on, I think that we do not have role models or a point of reference whenever we are trying to show these young boys how they should aspire to be like. And I think that would then go back to the generation before us or the generation even be well us ourselves right now because there's already a generation of young people after us. Many of the problems that we are faced with in society, one has to concede that many of the atrocities are basically committed by males and particularly young boys. The speaker before me spoke heavily on domestic violence and also the scourge of gender-based violence that we've had in the country. And with particular reference to the time that we are in now, uh, I think I read something earlier on about gender-based violence or domestic violence, particularly in South Africa, rising during the national lockdown. So one can only shudder to think that we've been in a lockdown for over a year now. So how much more has the this domestic violence statistics gone up? Uh, I think by last year June, the police had already received more than 2,300 more calls on average of domestic violence offenses being committed, which is a very huge number. And one has to concede that this is committed by males. So the question then begs, like, how do you then address this? And I think we should address it at the root. That's where we should address it. Hence, I find talks and topics like this of particular interest because we need to focus on the young boys because that's where you mold them into this man that you want society to see, this man that you want to be able to lead a society, to be able to protect a society. So if we can get the young boys to look up to people like Tata Nelson Mandela, we need to actually, I'm looking for the word. I think it's important, like I said earlier on, to reveal the man that Utata was to these young boys. I think we particularly need to be honest with ourselves, and we need to address the social ills from a grassroots level. I'm not particularly sure whether everyone is aware of a social media trend that was doing the rounds in 2019 and last year, a hashtag Men Are Trash. Now, I'd like to address this in short. There was a huge outcry. There was counter campaigns of not all men and not your father's also trash. And I think what Men Are Trash actually try to address is the fact that you need to understand that as a man, you basically have the potential of committing all of the atrocities that we are speaking of today, being gender-based violence, being domestic violence, being femicide. All of those crimes are at a huge part committed by males. And what Men Are Trash is trying to say is that by virtue of being a man, or by virtue of being a male person, it means that you are at risk or you are a potential offender. You are potentially going to commit one of these offenses. So instead of saying not all men, or instead of saying not all men are trash, why don't you address what this movement or this hashtag is trying to show? That as a male, you are a potential offender. You are at risk of being potentially guilty of these crimes that we are speaking of. Hence, I always make reference to all, hence, I always go back to grassroots level. Can we as a society show the young boys how we want our men or how we want our male persons to look like in society? I can only imagine what it would look like having a community of Nelson Mandelas. Imagine. I'm sure we would go very, very far. Now, one is not saying that you must imitate everything because not everyone is perfect. They are good and the bad. But it's always positive if one can extract the good things. You want to extract that. You want to incorporate that in your own life. So I think for us as a generation, it's important that we become role models, that we are the ones to first aspire to be this type of man that will be acceptable in society rather than just pointing fingers. I grew up in Cape Town, born and bred in Cape Town, and I'm sure everyone knows the how our communities in Cape Town are crime ridden, and how the gangsters have a stronghold. I work for Legal Aid. Many of my clients are 19, 18-year-olds. Now, there's no way you want to see a 19-year-old boy who's got his whole life in front of him faced with a charge of attempted murder and murder, which can get him to jail for 25 years. That is not the type of man that we want. The man that we want is one that is able to respect our women and children, protect our women and children, and also be able to conduct himself in a manner which will then inspire the next generation to want to be like this person. Also, earlier on, I just spoke of our women and our children. Sometimes I also find that problematic because it almost seems to suggest that we have ownership over women, we have ownership over children, which is not the case at all. It is not our woman, it's women. It is not our children, it's children. So I think that connotation of ownership should also be something that we unlearn. Um, so yeah, I think just more awareness should be given at grassroots level, and we need a generation of role models. As much as I did not sign up to be a role model, but holding the position in society that I do, I am cognizant of the fact that I am going to be a role model. Someone is going to look up to me, and what what message or what how can I put this? Or what do I want that person looking at me to see? How do I want them to act? It's always nice hearing that you inspire people. It's always nice knowing that people look up to you. But are you teaching those people the right things? So I think that it's very important, very important that we come into a society where the family institution is being prioritized again, where we have households that have males that are able to be form part of society and not form part of the atrocities that we spoke of. So behaviorally, one needs to take responsibility. But I think most important in this case is to have points of reference and to have role models and to have people that you look up to, that how you want our young boys to grow up to be like. Yeah, I think I've made my point. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. December, for that. Yes, I do agree with you that we need role models in our society. I don't know, from the two speakers that just gave us those speeches, I'm trying to pose a question on your side. What do you think of the recent violence, the recent looting that has been happening in Gauteng and the KZN, reflecting on Nelson Mandela? Your sentiments on that? Maybe if I can start with the Landiso.
Okay, Mr. Carl,
Thank
going
you
to
so much.
start with Mr. Lwandiso.
Oh, okay.
Look, the issue that has currently in the news, and we've seen what people have been doing. I think there's lots of dimensions we can look into that issue. There's actually a lot. But the basic dimension that we should be looking at this issue is that there's people out there perpetrating violence. First of all, there's people that were murdered there, one way or the other, or for whatever reason. But violence has never been a solution of anything, not anywhere. It has never worked. People have tried it, it has never worked. And second of all, I think there's quite a lot of underlying issues before it came to what we see now. And I've seen quite a few of analysts that have been discussing quite a number of issues that have been happening in different spheres of our society. And those issues have now ended up being what we saw on TV. Some of the issues has been relating to people with poverty, extreme poverty. And some of the issues, as we know, there are some politically related. Some of the issues may be relating to crime itself, because there are people that are taking chances there because now they see what's happening and they see an opportunity to continue with their crime activities that they are usually involved in. So I think it's actually very difficult times and dangerous times for our country. And being an economic student, I think it's very worrying for our economic conditions, because now we have a lot of investors to consider. Issues are happening. We have people with big monies coming and interested in investing in our economy, but it becomes difficult when you have such events happening, and there's no solid direction from our leadership and government to say this is exactly what we're gonna do. Because I think they are taking steps, but as the president has indicated the other day, they were a bit late in the intervention in this issue. So I think it's quite a difficult time for our country, and we must work with the people that we know, because even us, I might know someone in Durban who's been involved in this, but if I speak to them, I'm sure if it's someone that I can relate with, then I can probably have them play a part in now the campaigns that have been happening there in cleaning and in ensuring that some of the people actually give up the stuff that they took. So I think it's quite a serious issue, and it's very difficult. I don't want to lie. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. December.
Well, thank you, sir. Let me just from the onset make it clear that I do not in any way condone any of the looting or the violence. One can never rejoice when there's loss of life. However, I think that the situation could have been handled better. Look, this is South Africa. There's nothing new about looting or about people protesting about their frustrations. But however, whenever criminal acts are being committed, it then becomes difficult to be able to know which protest is genuine and which ones are just acts of criminality. Um, I don't think the protest has anything to do with Zuma at all. I think there's just genuine frustration with the current administration. I think youth unemployment is at an all-time high. Unemployment itself is at an all-time high. And it seems like the government solution to the current pandemic is just continued hard lockdowns upon hard lockdowns. So I think that has just been people's frustrations literally shooting through the roof. However, what I do not agree with is the defense force being brought to our communities. I feel as if that's not the smartest move that one can make. You don't want to bring the army for your own people. For me, it doesn't make sense because those people have no training in law enforcement at all. I think that we should better capacitate law enforcement agencies both at local government level and at national level to be able to deal with such issues. I'm also of the opinion that, like I said earlier on, I don't think the protest has anything to do with the release of former President Jacob Zuma. However, I do think that now it's come to a level where it's become so infiltrated by people that want to take the opportunity, that want to exploit a genuine frustration of the population to commit these criminal acts. I also heard the president speaking about people that were found, people that were charged with this looting, not getting bail, and I see it's become a trend for the president to make pronouncements or basically tell the judiciary what to do. No one can be denied bail anticipatory as a form of punishment. Bail is a constitutional right, and they first have to prove that the person basically did commit the crime in order for them to before you can be able to be punished. So I think the president is also irresponsible in some of his pronouncements, saying that people must not be given bail. I mean, looting or the offense that one would be charged with looting, it's a basic Schedule 1 offense. There's no grounds that an MPA can oppose bail in any way. So yeah, I think we need political solutions to political problems. Politicians can't have political problems and their only answer is to blame people and to enforce hard lockdowns upon us. it's a political problem. It needs a political solution, a practical political solution.
All right.
Yeah, that's basically all I had to say, really.
Thank you so much. We'll explore that. I wanted us to especially to touch on the young men or men on the issue of how we best we can assist them. But hopefully, if time permits, we'll come back to that. But I want to give this opportunity to Mr. Walufu Evans um, to maybe take the floor. Mr. Walufu is an engineer and founder of Casey Foundation. He's an engineer with experience in technical sales, project management, helping businesses to start up. He possesses a very good skills in team management. He has managed various teams at different levels of his life. He's a leader by gift and founder of the Casey Foundation, as I alluded. Mr. Walufi is on a journey to ensure that girls grow into empowered and responsible women. So Casey Foundation, it's an organization basically that deals with teenage pregnancy and also child marriages. So he's the founder of that. I'm going to give him time. He's based in Uganda. Right now, I believe he's 1 hour ahead of us. So Mr. Walufu, if you can take this time.
Hello.
Hello, sir. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I want to thank the School of Empowerment for organizing such a talk, a discussion around boys and the men. I'm Walufu Evans, as the moderator has said, and I'm the founder. So on this day that we celebrate the life of Mandela, Nelson. No, we need to be asking ourselves what lessons do we learn from his life. You see, the things that these people fought for and achieved are coming back. These things keep coming back. You have seen very many governments promise to do things and they come in power, then after some time, they actually divert from their goals. So the question is, what do we learn from the life of Nelson Mandela as a youth or as men, boys? I'm going to talk about two things, and these are, I'm going to look at a life of significance. Nelson Mandela, in my thinking, he lived a life of significance where he fought to empower others. He fought for the life of others. And we discover that these days, or most times, people only look at the success. They only want to achieve personal success, like a success. This is what brings actually many problems that African countries are facing. That was it on Monday. Earlier this week, I was watching news and I heard of the story that things that were ongoing in South Africa, had so things to die, things of that sort. You find out that the leaders we put in the offices, most of them actually go there to succeed, like to have that success in their life. They actually don't go to work for the people, to work for the people who put them into what? Into power. Most of them are chasing personal success, not forgetting about the society. Forgetting about the society. And when you look at what is currently happening in the world, we are going through a lockdown, in a pandemic. Now, this one only shows you that in this world, you can't exist alone. You can't exist as in your family alone. Because I see people complaining that they are bored, but their families and they are bored. What does it mean? It means that life cannot only move on when you are with your people. On that, you need other people to talk to. You need other people to discuss issues with. So this one brings us to a point that we need to work towards empowering others. So Nelson Mandela lived a life in that he worked hard for his community. He wanted to see a free and just society. So our boys, our younger men have to live towards a life of significance where they look at empowering themselves and also looking at empowering people who are near them, because in this world you can't exist just alone. That's what I have to say about Nelson Mandela on this day, and I want to thank the School of Empowerment for organizing this show once again. But before I conclude, actually, what parents also play a very big role in the development of the society. Yes, we are talking about the life. We are talking about the life of Nelson Mandela. Most times we are distracted with what goes around our communities, and we tend to divert from our goals. If you are to live a successful life, a life that is significant, this life has ups and downs. If Nelson Mandela was imprisoned for all those years and still came back and continued in his fight, that one only means that he was committed to what he wanted. He wanted to see a society free, and not until he achieves it, he will not give up. Now we discover that these days most of our younger boys have a lot of love for money. And when you have a lot of love for money, there are things in life that you can't achieve. You can't create a significant change in this world, because a significant change to be created, it comes with persistence, it comes with commitment. Sometimes even it comes with a lot of pain. You need to go through a lot of pain. Just imagine someone being in prison for over 15 years. What pain, what kind of pain have they gone through? And still, when you come back, you are able to continue from where you stopped. So we need to empower boys, need to empower people to understand actually what what like what is composed of being or living a life of significance. You see, when you go into bookshops outside, maybe you walk through, you are in Cape Town, just try a sample and walk through bookshops. You only get books talking about how do I become a billionaire? How do you become, how do you live life of success? But books never talk about significance in life. And people die empty. People die empty in such a way that they pursue success. They succeed, but still die unhappy. What is it? Why they die unhappy? Because people live to succeed and not to create an impact. Everyone in this world has a role to play. Everyone has a role to play. And if you discover what role you're supposed to play, then you will live a life of fulfillment. But if you don't discover it, then you are most likely to live a life of emptiness, where you die and you die unhappy. Die unhappy. You have money, you have succeeded in life, but you are dying unhappy. So I will call upon boys to identify within themselves before you may reach. If you don't know where you are heading, even though you travel at a high speed, you may never get to where you are going because you don't know. So first thing is identifying the direction, then identifying the destination. Where am I going? I'm traveling from Kampala to Cape Town. So it does not matter how fast I travel. The thing is, I'm traveling from Kampala to Cape Town. Others we use air, others we use the road, others will use water. They will reach, the overall result is all of them will have reached. So what is important is to identify or to know where you are heading. And where you are heading, I'm talking about goals. You need to set goals. And when you set goals, you set the procedures to achieve these goals. So from me to you, this is what I have to say on this day that we celebrate Nelson Mandela. Thank you very much, School of Empowerment, for organizing this event.
Thank you so much, Mr. Walufu. Such a profound issue that you brought up, whereby people are after material things and they are not changing, or they are not after changing the society, being responsible, like our Tata Mandela. Right now, I'm not sure if our last speaker is connected. Is Charles Kadufa, is the founding president of Kadufa Ministry, and also Christ Kingdom Harvest Church. Is based in Zimbabwe. Is the father of many young men and boys. Is recognized as a prophet for decades, and is a business person and a mentor as well. He's a life coach, conference speaker, and author. So today he speaks to many platforms, and is a mentor and a preacher of renown. Unfortunately, he could not connect with us on time, as he lost someone who's dear to him. So he's might be in mourning at the moment. We offer our condolence to him, and I don't know if he's connected now. He was organizing some of the issue regarding the burial of someone he lost today. Mr. Charles Kadufa, are you connected with us? I think he's not available at the moment. I'm going to give this time to Luandi, so just to give us a round of while at least we are concluding. It's almost 4 o'clock now. I think we are left with less than 7 minutes. Just a conclusion. Where do we go from here? From us as young men, as boys, where do we go from here? Even talked about Tata Mandela, how he sacrificed his life for the life of others, and then he adapted to the situation during that time. Talking of apartheid, there were so many atrocities that were happening during his time, but he adapted to the situation at that time. He managed to go to school. He managed to get out of the war, if I might put it that way. So our young boys and young men, how do they learn? Where do we go from here? If I can allow you, Rwandiso, just give us a brief conclusion.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Spencer. Once again, I'd like to thank Mr. Matthew December. Thank you very much. And also our speaker, also from Uganda. Thank you so much, sir. See, with regards to a way forward now, especially for our young boys, what's most important is that in our discussion that we had today in relation to Dr. Nelson Mandela, what's important is that our young boys, they must start learning new ways to adapt to this new normal, because it is now referred to as a new normal. Wearing a mask is never easy. Some are complaining about breathing difficulties with masks, but it is a protection protocol that is in place. So we must adhere to that all times. If we need to go out into any areas that have large crowds, like you're going to your malls to make your groceries, mask is important, and that sanitizing regularly, and regularly washing our hands and cleaning our surfaces. One thing that we've always made a mistake of when we spoke of cleaning is that we always seem somehow to be referring to female people for cleaning, which that is totally incorrect. Cleaning is for everybody. When we speak of cleaning, we speak of myself, we speak of you, Mr. Spencer, we speak of Mr. December also. So cleaning surfaces and cleaning in general is not for any specific gender. Everybody cleans and everyone cleans. So I think that's the way we should adapt with these new things now. And also they must understand that now going forward, what's most important about our celebration today is that we must instill a mentality of taking the good deeds of Mr. Mandela and attribute them into our lifestyles. Because what's most important is that we shouldn't just be giving our time and our discussions only just for 67 minutes for this day. It must be something that we do in our daily lives. If you meet someone you don't know, you might meet them in the bus and the mall. They should be able to learn something new from you. That way we're making a difference. Something new that they will benefit from. And something new that will give them at least an experience that they haven't had before in their lives. So that's most important about our celebration. And also our young boys, as we continue in this journey of living up difficult times, they must know that they are appreciated, and they must know that, as Mr. Matthews said, that we are here, even though we did not sign up for this, but we are here as their role models, and we want them to learn from us, especially our better attributes, because not probably most of us at some point we do something that we're not proud of. But what's most important is that our young boys must always get the best of our attributes and take upon themselves to be even better than we are. I think that is most important. And I thank you, Mr. Spencer.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lwandiso. Before I give this floor to Mr. December, I would like just to open out to anyone who has a question, whether on Facebook or on Zoom. If you have any questions or something that you want to contribute, as we are commemorating Tata Mandela today, and also reflecting on the boys and young men. If you have any questions, I'd like to give this time to a few questions or some maybe something that you'd like to understand better or you want to add. I recognize Messi, you raised your hand. Messi.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairperson. Thank you to our speakers, all the three of you. Just a question on the new norm. What would be your advice to our young men growing up, seeing that all the three of you who have spoken to us today, regardless of whatever circumstances and situations which you went through, but you still pushed on and you still continued with your studies, you are lawyers, you are advocates, you are economists, you are somebody in the society where these young men can look up to. And in those days, it was a normal kind of schooling, but now we've got this kind of online, this kind of once a week or twice a week kind of classes. What would be your advice to our young men, and what would be your encouragement to our young men growing up so that they can also be looked up to in our societies where we are having all these things, so that they can be able to also assist, be part of the change agents to overcome whatever circumstances and situations which we are facing at the moment. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you. I'll throw that to maybe Matthew, Mr. December.
Thank you for the question, Ms. Mercy. I think my advice um, for young boys that are still in school currently would be that don't become a victim of your circumstances. It's easy to sit and do nothing and then just blame your circumstances that, yeah, we didn't have laptops, we couldn't attend, and this and that and that. There's never a shortage of excuses. You have to decide whether you want to be a person that rises above your circumstances or whether you want to be a victim of your circumstances. Even in normal circumstances, it's difficult to able to succeed and get to tertiary level and do what you want to do. However, it's possible. Currently, it's even more difficult, but that should even give you more drive and more passion and more want to succeed. So, in short, is become a victim of circumstances. Use the current pandemic that we're faced with, all the challenges, as a reason why you want to succeed, why you want to be able to rise above your circumstances and actually make something of your life. And always remember that you're not doing it for anyone else, you're doing it for yourself. So the drive, the passion, the willingness must come from within. That's how you'll be able to get whatever you want in life. I hope I've answered the question.
Indeed, sir. Thank you so much. One more question from V. V, if you are still logged in, can you? This is your time. V. Okay, I think she's no longer with us here. Maybe Mr. Matthew, before we conclude today's, we are running out of time now. Just to give you a brief, give us a brief, maybe summary. Where do we go from here with our young boys and young men? Where do you go from here? You touched on people giving the young men giving excuses to say we don't have A, B, C, D. Yet Tata Mandela himself, yes, it was a different time at that time, but if you read what he went through, like we are talking of, he had to study with a candle, he had to study for his degree in law, and despite all the challenges, the apartheid and the arrests, where do we go from here as the young men and boys of today?
Thank you, Chair. I think that one needs to get the message across that you must be the change that you want to see. So this then means that you must already start acting how you aspire to be, which is very important because change starts from within. So we need to change our behaviors. We need to change our current acceptable norms in society. and get it to where we want it to be, but it must first start individually from within, and then a person is able to then bring that out into the world. So I think it's important that willingness to be a male person that is looked up to, a male person that is that has the potential to be a role model to the younger generation. So I think boys or young boys should have that willingness to act right. Also, there must be that willingness to succeed. Like you said correctly, that Utata was faced with lots more issues, much more than we actually faced. I'm not saying it's easy, but he was faced with much more. But he was able, he didn't choose to be a victim of his circumstances. He didn't just sit in the rural areas and say that I don't have a right to education or I don't have access to education, so I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do nothing. He actually rose above his circumstances and then became a point of reference when you say that it is possible. So to the young boys, I just want to say that it is possible to be a male person who does not commit the atrocities that we spoke of. It is possible to be a person that comes from the most disadvantaged background to be able to live up to their dreams and get to in the career paths that they want. All of it is possible. However, there must be willingness, there must be drive, there must be passion. Like I said, excuses are very easy to find. Excuses are always, there's always many excuses. You can always point to something and say that it's because of this that I did not make it. But what are you doing to get to where you want? Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to round off because of our time. It's now almost 4:15. I would like to thank you all. V, 30 seconds, 30 seconds only. 30 seconds, V.
Okay. Thank you so much for this platform. I just want to thank the men who have been speaking to us, Mr. Evans, Matthew, and Randy. Thank you so much for your contributions. But I just wanted to add on to what you said, guys. That yes, thank you guys for being great role models in the society. But also, let us remember that we also, as the mothers, we need to play a role in our children's lives. We need to build great men and women that.
Yes. I think we have lost V there. Okay. Because of our time, I'm just going to conclude this session that we had, the talk. I think V was trying to put a point that it's not only young men or boys who are supposed to play a role. It also includes the women, the mothers, the grandmothers, also to raise a generation of young boys and men who are responsible in society, who are able to take ownership of their surrounding, ownership of themselves, ownership of the country, ownership of the community, ownership of everything. So we need to raise a generation like that. It's so the issue of adapting to the new normal, it's a responsibility for everyone to play their role so that we can raise young boys. It starts from their that kindergarten age, from that creche age, where we need to teach them that no to gender-based violence. You don't hit your fellow sister. You participate in such kind of thing. And we need also to inspire them from that age, so that when they grow up, when they go to primary, when they go to secondary school, or maybe graduate, we have instilled values and empower them to make it in life, instilled values of change, like Utata Mandela. So we need to play a pivotal role for our children, a pivotal role for all the children in our community. I love back in the days that when our communities used to take care of our children, even though they were not your parents, but the fact that they know you and they know your parents, they would try to teach values in you, that I am also your an elder to you. I'm also a parent to you. So they would raise our children in a better community. And like these days, people, most of our elders, they don't seem to mind taking care of the children in our community. They probably maybe might be just minding their own business, but we need to go back to that level whereby our communities will take care of our young children, young boys, taking them as a role model elder, and taking them on their shoulders, and steering them in the right direction. But without further ado, I would like to thank you all for participating in this 67 of talk, where we were talking about reflecting on our legend, Utata Nelson Mandela, and also just reflecting on the boys and young men of today. Thank you so much, Landiso. I want to also take this opportunity for speaking to us, and also Mr. Matthew December, Messi, Maura. I'm seeing also MJ, you were connected with us. Mr. Samuel Lungu, all the way from Uganda. You are connecting with us. Simongiseni Murashu, thank you so much. Also Spokazi, thank you so much, guys, for this. Let's not take it as a one-day event, but make it a 67 days course that you can take every day. Participate in the transforming, empowering, inspiring of our society and the nation. But I want to thank you, and give this opportunity as we are joining this talk. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day and evening, wherever you are connecting from. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, sir.